my first live video. Guess I will wait until people join. Presumably it'll tell me if someone's joined. Hey, people have joined. Hey, alright. Well, this is my first Instagram live video, or I guess first live video at all. We'll see. Oh, trying to find a good shot. Nope, it's all ugly. So anyway, welcome. I'm Ben Rassmusen from Potomac Chocolate. I am a small, really small, absurdly small is how I like to put it, bean-to-bar chocolate maker from Woodbridge. I opened Potomac Chocolate back in 2010, doing purely single-origin bean-to-bar chocolate, 2-ingredient. Anyway, just as I get started, I just want to say thanks to the organizers of the Stay Home with Chocolate Festival. I think it's a great idea. I've had a great time watching a bunch of the videos. I hope you guys have been watching a bunch of them as well. Nope. I don't think I can let anybody join our video. I get this weird request. Anyway. Thank you to them. I hope you've been watching a bunch of the videos as well. There are, hopefully, maybe you've seen a few of the other chocolate factories. Two that I watched and really enjoyed were the Dick Taylor factory tour and question and answer, and then the Good Now Farms. And so they really will show you some really great factory. I'm going to show you the other way, which is to make it crazy small, run by one dude in his basement, basically absurdity. Feel free to ask any questions. I will attempt to look in the camera as much as possible, but also answer any questions. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and start the tour of the factory. I'm in this room to start, just because it has the best. I'm going to move to the other part. As you may or may not know, you probably do know, Potomac Chocolate is based currently in my home and has been since 2010. When I started, I was just this room here, and that was it. So everything was in here, from roasting and grinding and winnowing and everything. There's a question, inspiration behind the Fishies of the logo. I will definitely get to that question, definitely on my list of things to answer. But since 2010, obviously Potomac Chocolate has grown, and I extended from this room in my basement to move over to where the cocoa bean sorting happens. So I'm going to flip it around. You don't have to look at me anymore. No, ignore the broken door. All right, so you see here, this room here is what we affectionately call the Great Hall. It is also kind of the some of my DIY equipment graveyard. This is a roaster that I was that I have now given up on because I'm in the process actually of buying a new roaster. This is actually a conch that I designed and built with a custom district in DC that I used for several years. I had a stone grinder and then this conch as well. But the first, I get the bags of beans. They come here. They come in and soon to be released 75% cacao Uganda bar, which is super exciting. So anyway, so first step is sort of, because if I touch the beans, I have to wash my hands. And frankly, I'm sick of washing my hands, and I'm sick of talking about it, and I'm sure you guys are all as well. So anyway, so these are what the cocoa beans look like. And then what I'm sorting for is stuff like this. Those are rocks. And they really do some damage to equipment. I've actually broken 3 bean cracks with rocks about that size. They look a lot like cocoa beans. Anyway, and then there's flats, broken beans, those kind of things. And I sort those out because they're just not going to roast correctly. So currently I work with 4 soon. My hands are so dry from all the washing, says Stay Home with Chocolate. Anyway, so I work with 5 origins right now. Duarte, Dominican Republic, San Martin, Peru, although that one's actually about to be changing to a different Peru. I haven't announced that yet, so I guess ignore that. Tumaco, Colombia, Uganda, and Upala, Costa Rica. That's the very first one that I worked with. Burracow Chocolate says, use cocoa butter for your hands. That sounds like a suggestion. All right, so this is where I sort the beans. As you can see, I've just got a little freezer, and then these 3 hotel pans, and basically I put the beans here. I move them around a little bit. The things that are too small fall down underneath. Things that are broken and that I don't want to roast, I throw into that back pan there. And then what I want to keep, I put into this pan, which then goes into buckets. So there we go. So that's sorting the beans. Not a super interesting step of the chocolate making process. But although I will say it is one of the holy wars in the craft chocolate world. Chocolate Uplift says, love your tomaco so much. Thanks, Chocolate Uplift. All right. If you can watch her video, hers from yesterday was awesome. All right, so then we go here. This is my washer and dryer. It's nothing to do with the chocolate making. But here is stir. It doesn't look much like a roaster, and it doesn't seem to be focusing, but whatever. So as you can tell, this is a home convection oven with this ridiculous drill and pulley system to the side. And then on the inside, I have hacked in this, basically a lobster boiling basket drum, and it does this. I'll turn it on for a second. There we go. It's nice and squeaky. Makes lots of noise, but it roasts pretty well. It doesn't like to have, and as I mentioned a minute ago, actually, I've just purchased a new roaster, which should hopefully be here in the next year. So this roaster, which I built back in 2011, is finally going to be decommissioned, which is actually going to make our thanks roaster. So we'll have to figure something out. Unrelated to chocolate making. So, all right. So roasting. So each bean that I work with, I develop a specific roast profile to really bring out its best flavors. All of you, I'm sure, know that, and so us craft chocolate makers work really hard. Hi, Emily Baird. To work really hard to try to bring out the different flavors in the different beans. Sorry, I'm. It's so hard to do this. Like Fresco Chocolate asked me, which new roaster did you get? I'm actually getting a Buckeye coffee roast capacity smaller than this roaster, but it's going to be so much more efficient that the roast time overall is going to be the same. Professional, which is great because I've recently opened a shop that once coronavirus stops happening and I can get it inspected, I'll actually be doing moving my factory over there as well. So anyway, roasting, incredibly important step in the chocolate making process that craft chocolate makers really focus on and work really hard to develop a roaster. If you want to my roaster, they're doing a class or Instagram Live on Saturday. I've got it written down somewhere, but anyway, look at the schedule. That guy's really knows what he's talking about. So anyway, roasting, super awesome, super important. So after roasting, now some chocolate makers don't cool their beans after roasting. I personally believe, for my process, I like to control it so that the beans I stop the beans in this. As you can tell, this super duper sophisticated cooling system. It is a double wide fryer basket on top of a $20 box fan, and it works amazingly well. There's not really much to say about cooling cocoa beans, so I won't say anything more about it. After cooling the cocoa beans, you need to remove the shell, so winnowing the beans. This is my winnower. I tried to wipe it down. It gets quite dusty and dirty, so I wiped it down for you guys, but it's still going to look pretty, I don't know, pretty. So this is a funnel, obviously, so the roasted beans go in here. They go down through this juicer, which cracks the beans. The juicer has had the screen removed from here, which cracks the beans. Does the winnower have a name? No. I don't anthropomorphize my equipment all that much. Sometimes, but not this one. Anyway, so the cracked beans go down through here. There's a little plate right here. They hit that, and then they kind of flip into this part of PVC pipe, which is generally referred to as the separation chamber. So the light gets shot up, and the bucket, not this bucket, this is just a bucket of shell into a clean bucket. And if you follow around, you got a little control back there that shows that controls how much vacuum that follows around over here into this little vortex thing that collects all the the shells into the bottom there, and then a shop vac that powers it all. Now, recently, many of us chocolate makers started out cracking with a Frankenstein, and so this is a little cracker. I don't know if I can show it very well without dropping everything. It's got 3 cracking wheels up in there, and as you turn it, oh man, I need 3 hands. Oh, I'm not able to do this with my hands very well. It turns the things, and they're actually doing, oh man, whatever, stop looking at that. What I'm doing is I cool the beans just to take the heat, but they're still really pliable and malleable, and then I put them through the Frankenstein, which takes off most of the shell in these large shells, and then I put it through the juicer and winnower to make the beans, make the resulting nibs very clean with very little shell in there. And I found that I've actually just started doing that. I can't see it anymore, I apologize. Valerie had asked where I got my technical knowledge, and the reality is I'm just a long-term tinkerer. I'm not a professional tinker of my whole life, and so that's why many of the things that I build are very functional, but they're also very ugly, but they do the job. So last thing in this room is my little test roaster here. So I have a little Beamore roaster, far more sophisticated than my room. I actually can hook it up to a laptop, chart the all of the graphs and everything. Yeah, so a little drum in there, pounds of beans in it that I need to roast. Question: what is my production capacity, and how many beans can be winnowed per hour? 200 pounds of chocolate a week. As far as how much beans can be winnowed per hour, I currently roast in roughly 12-pound batches, and the combination of Frankenstein and Champion winnower, I can win in under 10. So yeah, all right. So now we're going to move into what, at the beginning, was the only part of the chocolate factory. All right, so many chocolate makers who use melangers or stone grinders. I probably should have pulled one of these out to show one, but it's a little stone grinder. It's got a stone-based bowl and 2 stone wheels. And grinds cacao. I used one, and then I decided that I wanted a separate conching step. One thing that I found with my chocolate, and that I taste with many 2-ingredient craft chocolates, is that there's a certain thickness or a fudginess to the melt of the chocolate, and I found that true conch that made a huge difference in chocolate, and so I used that kind of stone grinder. I guess I could turn it around and look at me for a second. Hey. So I used that stone grinder and separate conch process. Then back in 2017, I did a Kickstarter and was wanting to change the size of my bars, get some custom wrappers, and also change the way that I am grinding and refining. And so that Kickstarter bought me this, in addition to some other things. This is a universal conch refiner, or refiner conch. It's technically a McIntyre style, but really was made ripoff of of that. You notice that I built a little link over it. That is because the gearbox and the motor in this are kind of loud. And just above that ceiling right there is where my bed is, and so I put the place. All right, so I'm going to show you inside this really quickly, and I'm going to turn it on. So it's got about 90 pounds of chocolate in the storage. Right there, that is a metal scraper. That glob that I'm trying to highlight unsuccessfully, that is a metal scraper. There are 18 of those in here, and they're all spinning around, grinding the chocolate up against the wall, which is this serrated wall. All right, so I'm going to turn it on back here. Here we go, under the blanket for it. Oh, there we go. Flashlight back down there. All right, so you can see the chocolate's in there, refining away. I'm going to turn it off so I don't have to keep shouting. There's a question, how do you clean it? Great question. I will get to that. So what that is doing is grinding the chocolate, but I have control of how much tension is on there, and so I can make it have less tension in just conch. So conching, I just want to check my time. Conching is basically subjecting chocolate to shear stress. Basically beating acids, and it helps to give it a nice mouthfeel. That is the thing that I found when switching from just a stone grinder to a stone grinder plus a conch, was that you had this really improved mouthfeel. It was much less viscous. It was less thick. It melted nicer in the mouth, and so it's just a huge difference. This thing, the Universal, does that so much more efficiently, even than the size distribution. Let's suffice it to say, this for me, the way I use it, than I used to get from my stone grinder and conch process. So I'm a big fan of this. Is it the absolute best refining process in the world? Probably not. I would really one day love to get into a 3-roll mill thing, maybe a ball mill. I don't know. I'm always looking for how I can improve. So the question was, how do you clean it? And that is a great question, because as you can see, it has this opening here. Side note, that little piece right there, the metal, I had to weld those on myself, otherwise chocolate would come spewing out from between the door and the tank here, because the Chinese manufacturer had this pretty glaring design flaw. Anyway, typically it's a regular steel on the inside, and so you wouldn't put any water in it, because that would cause rust. And so typically, if you really want to clean it, what you'll do is you'll put butter in it, run that in there, melt it, and then drain it down here through the ball valve. Yeah, and so that's typically how you would clean it. Most industrial chocolate machinery is never cleaned per se with water. It is always done just with the fat, the cocoa butter cleaning there. All right, so let's see. All right, so that refining, grinding, and conching, just the quickest, shortest, probably 85, 90-pound batches of chocolate. I put in on Tuesday, and it will come out on probably on Friday. And basically, I run it in there with low pressure to give it time to really. What do I? Your tongue? Absolutely. I do use my tongue basically when I think that will pull a little bit of chocolate, and I will put it on a piece of parchment paper and let it set up, and then I will put that in my mouth and make sure that I can't detect any particles. I also use this, which is called a grindometer. If I had 3 or 4 more hands, I could actually show this in action. I wonder if I can. All right, I'm going to do it. Here we go. I'm going to teaspoon this process. I normally do because I'm also holding a phone. So I dip in and I get, well, that's not enough. I get a little bit of chocolate. And then I put a little dollop here. All right. All right. I don't even know where to put this chocolate. All right. I don't normally put wet chocolate just on my table. So I normally have some parchment paper there. All right. And then I go like this. This is ridiculous. All right. And so what this is showing is from here, 50 microns. The human tongue can detect anywhere down to 20 to 30 microns, that kind of time, that kind of range, or a lot of variation. And so what I'm looking for is for chocolate, 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 no chocolate, no chocolate, no chocolate. Once these streaks are gone here, all of those particles have been refined down to that size. So I use both that, a grindometer, and my tongue. So there we go. Hope that answered the question in probably the most ridiculous way I could. All right. Me, because I was going to show you another machine. So it has been conched and refined, depending on the that's a great question, Fresco. Do you grind first or put nibs directly in the conch? So I know actually to have a pre-refining step to speed up that initial refining, but I don't at this point. But as I said earlier, I'm always looking to change. All right, after the chocolate has been refined, it is more or less complete chocolate. Depending on the bean, the bar, I will either age the chocolate. Now, all of this is just little remnants. Normally, I will have quite a bit more than this. I made a ton of experience and have been a little lazy since then. But I will age them in blocks like this. Or for some of them, they don't really. I found that it doesn't really benefit from aging, and so they'll just go straight in the tempering machine. I haven't been making it. Since getting back from the craft chocolate experience in San Francisco, so this is a more or less empty tempering machine. But I figured I'd show it to you anyway. This is a Savage Brothers 50-pound tabletop tempering machine, and basically it just controls the temperature it up so that it melts it down to where it'll form type 4 and type 5 crystals. Oh man, this is such a not giving this topic the justice it deserves, but warms it back up to a with just type 5, ideally, crystals. And yeah, I got that actually from a Kickstarter 4 or 5 years ago, so big fan of Kickstarters. And that has a depositing pump, this here, and so it'll pump the chocolate out into the molds, and I've got these little so this is my vibrating table. I had built one that I used for years and years, and then I finally decided to buy one, mostly because I started doing this. You can put, when you fill a bonbon mold, all right, I've got some dirty bonbon molds over here. Sorry about that, everyone. To do the shell, you fill the chocolate, the mold with chocolate, you scrape it off, and then you dump it out. And this lets all the chocolate out into a pan that I put under there more efficiently than I'm doing it by hand. So this vibrates the chocolate, which helps it to smooth out and that kind of thing. I've got another little tempering machine there. Once it's all tempered and molded, it goes down into the cooling cabinet. I built this cooling cabinet in 2011. It's been with me ever since. All right, so the question posed is where the fish logo go. Figure out what time. All right, I got 4 minutes. So when I started, I had a business partner, a friend of mine, and he had a friend who wanted to design our logo. We were or she sent us, and I said, oh, we just want something stupid, like a chocolate fish. And he was like, I love it. And so basically that's how the chocolate fish came about. I kind of went online, found some designs, and redesigned them and remade them. And over the years, I've kind of iterated design 8 times. You know, and it's really the one thing that has, in my 10 years of being in business, I have probably changed my packaging, I don't know, 7 or 8 times, which is madness and absurdity. That's how the fish came about. Later, I learned that the Mayan glyph for cacao has a fish as a main part of it, and so I wish I could tell you it was my modernist interpretation of a Mayan glyph of cacao, but that would be a lie. So, a couple questions that just popped up. How many square feet do I have currently? I'm not sure that I'm the absolute smallest chocolate factory in the world, but I am currently in square feet. So basically, that's a foot per pound of chocolate I can make a week. My new factory space plus shop is 450 square feet, which is still absurdly small. I hope that was all the questions. I think my time is running out. I did want to say I will be doing another. How many people work with me? Me. I make all the chocolate myself. My family helps out, like running the shop and helping with clean. But for the most part, it's just me. 37 chocolates just joined on my. Glenn from Chocolate Tastry is telling me to remind you all that I will be doing an event, another one of these on Saturday at 4:30 with Glenn from Chocolate Tastry. We're going to be, I will be in my shop. He'll be in New Jersey, and I'll be tasting. We'll be tasting So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks again for the Stay at Home Chocolate Festival people for putting all this together. It's amazing. There's a bunch of great events coming up. A few that I'm really excited for. Zach's Chocolate tasting from the Chocolate House shop in DC tomorrow at 3:30. Fresco Saturday and Rock on Saturday. We really appreciate all of your support. The craft chocolate world really needs it. So I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you go out and buy some chocolate. Thanks a lot. You guys have a good one.